It's the end of 2018, but we are already receiving leaks about how exactly Microsoft intends to tackle the next generation in 2020. It's pretty cool stuff here. It's things I've been talking about for quite some time now if you've been following me, and I wanted to go a little bit more in detail about the two traditional consoles, yes, two, that Microsoft intends to release in 2020. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with a million, back again with another video. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm not. I had a terrible day. Finally just got home, and the first thing I decided to do was make this video, as I know you guys want to know about all these juicy rumors and leaks regarding Xbox 2. And you know what? This information comes to us from not only one source, but two sources. We have my buddy Jez Corden published an article last night on Windows Central about this, and Brad Sams of Thor.com, he did a very similar article. So we have two sources talking about Microsoft's plans for next generation, and it revolves around a lower end SKU that is going to be cheaper, presumably than the PlayStation 5, and then the beast, the premium Xbox 2 console that's going to have all the bells and the whistles, right? So this is what Jez Corden has to say about this stuff. He goes on to say, according to our sources, there are two consoles currently being prepped aiming for a 2020 holiday debut, a cheaper S-style console to succeed the Xbox One S, and a more beastly X-style console to succeed the Xbox One X. The codename for the S2 seems to be Lockhart, and the codename for the X2 seems to be Anaconda, which may also be serving as a dev kit. The next-gen Lockhart console will be the affordable SKU, providing the next-gen Xbox experience in a package potentially around as powerful as the current Xbox One X hardware-wise, with refinements under the hood. The Anaconda console will be more powerful and more expensive, providing a cutting-edge console gaming experience. We've also heard Microsoft is exploring technology to dramatically reduce loading times, potentially including SSD storage in the package. Now that sounds pretty interesting to me. I would love to have an SSD included internally to get rid or at least shorten the load times for some of these games, as if you play Forza Horizon 4, the load times can be pretty rough in that. But you know, we talked about this. Me and Jez have talked about this for the past month on the Xbox 2. I've did videos about this. This is Microsoft's way of maybe attacking Sony. We don't really know exactly what Sony's doing. We know there's a PS5 coming, and looking at this dual SKU approach here, where you have a really powerful Xbox and then a cheaper one, it kind of leads me to believe that Sony is prepping one console that will sit right in the middle. And if you look at the price points, maybe this Lockhart, the cheaper one, will come in at $300, the PlayStation 5 will come in at $400, and then Microsoft will come in with that X2, the Anaconda, which is an appropriate name for, you know, the beast that is the most powerful next-gen Xbox, will come in at $500. That's kind of what I'm seeing here, or at least thinking, but maybe the prices will be a little bit different. I know there's talk that the PlayStation 5 will be $500. Who really knows? But either way, that's what Jez Corden has to say. But if we go over to Thor.com, Brad Sams, he says that it's no secret that Microsoft is working on a next-gen console for expected release date in 2020. The hardware is being actively developed, but the launch strategy is starting to materialize, and this post will help you make sense of all the different codenames that are being talked about. The name Xbox Scarlett has been floating around since the summer, and it represents at broad level the next generation of consoles. So basically, Xbox Scarlett is the family of next-gen Xboxes. Everything that is coming out for next-gen, the Anaconda, the Lockhart, the streaming box, those just fall under the umbrella of the Xbox Scarlett brand, or codename, I guess. As of right now, there are two being planned on the Anaconda, which others have noted as well, Jez Corden, and Lockhart, which is an arcade version of Anaconda. Microsoft refers to Anaconda as Scarlett Pro and Lockhart as Scarlett Arcade. Think of Lockhart as a successor to the Xbox One S, whereas Anaconda is the successor to the Xbox One X. And to toss one more name to the bunch, Danta is the name of the Scarlett dev kit that is based on Anaconda. So there we go. We have two people presumably getting different information from different people within Microsoft talking about a very similar thing. We have Lockhart and we have Anaconda. So to me, this is just Microsoft's strategy of providing more options to their users. I know Phil Spencer, Mike Ybarra, when they get out there, they talk about how they want people to play the games that they want to play with the people they want to play with on the device that they want. And with Xbox Play Anywhere and the xCloud stuff about streaming games, it's all about giving you a choice. And I think the strategy here of releasing a cheaper Xbox S2 and then a really powerful X2 really goes into that idea of giving the gamer a choice. Are you somebody who wants the premium experience but doesn't want to be on PC? Well, then they have the console for you. It's going to be $500 or $600. It's going to have all the best stuff on it. It's going to run games the best it possibly can. But if you're a little bit price conscious and you don't want to spend $600 or $500 at launch or whatever it's going to be, you know, they're going to have this other option here, which is going to be a console that specs similarly to the Xbox One X right now, maybe 6 teraflops, 5 teraflops, but a much better CPU. We know that it's going to be using the Navi instead of the Jaguar cores, which really hold back the consoles this gen. So they offer that at a nice price point of $299, maybe $399, depending on whatever the PlayStation 5 is at. Honestly, looks like that Microsoft wants to have the most powerful console for next gen, as well as the cheapest entry point as well. I mean, they lost for a lot of different reasons at the beginning of this generation. Power, price, messaging, all those things mattered. In my opinion, I thought the price was the most important thing. They were $100 more expensive, but the past is the past. You need to learn from that. So Microsoft is keen on having the most powerful hardware, but they also want the cheapest option, and they're going to provide that. Now, I'm not really worried about, devs basically making games or targeting for this low-end Lockhart S2 arcade Scarlett or whatever they're calling it, because I've been playing on the Xbox One X this entire year, and the games have run pretty damn good. There's some noticeable improvements from the base Xbox One to the Xbox One X, and as my buddies all the time tell me, it doesn't really matter because PC gaming's been like this for a long time. You have a bunch of different configurations, the really powerful PCs to the really crappy PCs, and they all kind of work by doing a bunch of different stuff. So I know the developers will do what they have to do, and honestly, Microsoft wouldn't be doing this unless the developers really wanted it. They don't want to do more work, but if Microsoft makes it a little bit easier, which they talk about here in both articles, Jez Corden and Brad Sams, they talk about GameCore, where GameCore is the evolution of the UWP platform, is going to help Microsoft eventually start building container-based apps. GameCore will make it significantly easier for developers to utilize Xbox services on both PC and Xbox, and should provide for higher levels of performance with lower level system access and control of hardware assets. Now, there's also the streaming platform, the xCloud, and the streaming console itself. We haven't heard much really about that, not in this particular leak, but Brad Sams does say, on the xCloud of things, there is Anthem. This is what Microsoft calls the Xbox One S version of its cloud platform. Anthem version 2 will roll out later next year, which will be based on a revised version of the Xbox One S that is focused on reducing the cost to manufacture the hardware. And of course, there is Anaconda Cloud in the works as well. For the hardware components, to little surprise, AMD will be building the chips for the next-gen console. I'm hearing that it may be based on AMD Zen 2 and will also use next-gen's GPU architecture as well. As for the specific performance targets, that's still a little bit murky at this time. So, if you don't want the really expensive Anaconda system and you don't want the Lockhart, the cheaper version, but you're someone who's always on the go, has phone, has maybe an app on the TV, Microsoft is going to try to attack you there as well with the xCloud for games presumably on the Xbox One S, because they're talking about that hardware as well as hardware based around the Anaconda, so streaming games if you want the best, whether it's on your phone, your TV, your tablet, your PC, wherever you may be. It seems that Microsoft is really targeting everything, and they're really going with that phone model approach. The iPhone, iPhone, they release a bunch of models that launch every single year, and it seems to be working out for them for the most part. I know the launch of the new iPhones this year hasn't been the best, but for the longest time, people would get the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus. They know exactly what those meant. So the argument that you're just going to confuse gamers and consumers is a little bit weird to me, because we've been conditioned by iPhones to expect, here's the base phone model and here's the regular, the improved phone model, and nobody bats an eye. Now, with this kind of all set, with a cheaper Xbox and a more powerful one, I wonder exactly how Sony's gonna, because this could essentially help Sony, but it also could hurt Sony. If Sony just has one SKU, they could potentially make it as powerful as possible, and at the launch of a next-gen console cycle, people don't really gravitate towards the lower-end SKU because they feel like they'll be missing out on something. So then they'd be like, the real SKU is the Anaconda, but that one might be priced too expensive. And if that one's going to be $100 more than the PlayStation 5, you might run into a similar situation of this gen, where you have the Xbox One at $500, the PS4 at $400, and if Lockhart, the cheaper SKU, is seen as not the real version, then essentially Xbox becomes more expensive at launch. I don't really know how that play out. Obviously, the Xbox One will be more, have more power, so that issue from the launch of 2013 won't matter. But it does present an interesting scenario for Sony. They can get their messaging 100% about how you only need this console and it does everything, and how Microsoft is splintering their, console offerings. I think it's a good idea for Microsoft. We've seen 2 generations of them try and go toe-to-toe with Sony in different ways, and it really hasn't worked. Actually, 3 generations, rather. So, you pretty much have to do something different and attack it in a different way. And I actually like this idea of releasing 2 SKUs at launch, having the most powerful, and then also the cheapest, and all the streaming. I'm not going to choose the streaming. You're probably not going to choose the streaming. I'm going to choose the most powerful one. But that's all the information I gleaned from these articles, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So if you enjoyed this little discussion, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Share it out on Twitter with a friend, Facebook. I'd really appreciate that. If it was your first time here, make sure you hit that sub button. Hit that notification bell right next to it. You always want to be notified. And let me know in the comment section below what you think about all this. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Later.